talk to Philip Ingram, a man who knows a thing or two about beards and a thing or two about military service. He's a former senior military intelligence officer. Philip, very good morning.
Good morning, Mike.
Nice to see you. I'm not going to get into the whole question of beards with you because, you know, you can say something about it if you wish. I'm not a man of... I'm not a fan of beards. I'm not a fan of men with beards. But, you know, are you allowed to have a beard in the military, by the way? Is that one of those things that you can't do?
You are now. It used to be banned, but the military have changed their rules and regulations to allow neat stubble or neat beards of up to a certain length.
All right. And why was it banned then in the first place? They must have had a good reason, presumably because they couldn't trust anyone with a beard.
Well, no, the main reason was if you're working in a nuclear, biological or chemical environment, your respirator wouldn't fit. So you needed to be ready to put that on at very short notice.
OK, so now it does fit.
Well, yeah, they're finding ways of trying to make it fit, but actually the threat has gone down enormously.
Yes.
This was a throwback to the Cold War. And in saying that, there were certain trades in certain parts of the military which allowed beards because they were traditional.
Right. So
if tradition meant that you died because of chemical poisoning, well, hey, that was just the problem.
Yeah, absolutely right. And the other good reason not to have a beard. We've got lots to talk about this morning, not least a terribly sad story about a Royal Navy service member dying after a helicopter ditched in the Channel. Helicopters are risky machines, aren't they? I mean, I'm sure you'll tell me that, you know, lots of times helicopters go up and they fly and there's no problem at all. But I've always thought that, you know, it's the least probably safe form of air transport for me.
Yeah, they are very risky, and this was very sad indeed. You know, a Merlin Mark IV, almost certainly from the Royal Naval Air Station at Yeovilton, supporting the commando force who are part of the Royal Navy.
Yeah.
It was out on an exercise, testing people's night vision goggles, flying at night, low level, in complex environments. 2 aircraft that were out. One of them suffered from what I understand was double engine failure. There are 3 engines on it, but that forced it to come down hard, and unfortunately 1 crew member died.
Yeah, I was actually sitting I'm just going to admit it, in a bar yesterday afternoon, and a big sort of what looked like military ship came past with a load of men standing on it, sort of standing to attention. Looked like some part of a navy. I don't know if it was our navy. We saw last week a German navy ship coming up the River Thames. Is there some kind of military partnership thing going on? Do you know anything about who that was?
I don't know who that was because I don't know which bar you were sitting in and where you were facing.
Well, I was basically underneath Tower Bridge, and the boat literally came up and went under Tower Bridge and was heading towards the HMS Belfast. It was a long kind of, you know, looked like a destroyer.
Big grey thing.
Big grey thing, yeah.
Yeah, it was probably a visiting ship from another country. The Royal Navy do come into the Thames from time to time, and of course HMS Belfast is still a serving member of the Royal Navy. Right. But they don't usually bring their ships right up into the centre of London. They do allow other countries to do that. We've got constant visitors coming in from our partner nations. It's something that we do in their countries and they do in ours. Right. It's a really good way of showing some cooperation.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I suppose we have to talk about the situation in the Middle East and also in Ukraine. I mean, the Navy are operationally out there in the Gulf of Iraq, around Iraq and around Iran and all of that, sort of patrolling to make sure the Houthis are not attacking ships. That seems to have gone a bit quiet for the moment.
But it has, thank goodness. The Houthis are still firing missiles at ships, but it's just not hitting the press. They've hit a couple of ships, unfortunately, and damaged them quite badly. But the Royal Navy have got 2 active ships in the region, acting as part of an international coalition of 12 nations that have got ships all working together. And then there are a couple of other nations working independently, trying to provide that safety in the Red Sea to allow commercial shipping to get up through there, but also pre-positioned in case we get an Iranian response to the Israeli assassination or the alleged Israeli assassination of the Hamas leader at the Iranian president's inauguration, which we still haven't seen. And these ships have got sophisticated air defense capabilities on them, so might be able to shoot some of the Iranian drones and missiles down if they fire them at Israel.
And in Ukraine this week, you know, we've seen the Russians sort of being quite aggressive, launching attacks on Kyiv and various other places as well. How's that all going?
Well, the Russians are, to put it mildly, slightly annoyed that Ukraine has managed to capture so much territory in the Kursk region, and then carry out further incursions into the Belgorod region and elsewhere. So there's that, and then the F-16s. The Russians, I think, are sending a message by firing these missiles into the depths of Ukraine. Lviv is right in the west. It's only a few tens of kilometers from Poland's border, a NATO country. They're saying we can target your airfields anywhere with ease, and at the same time, the Russians are still and they're pushing quite hard in their advances in the east to try and dislocate the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians have got the initiative back. Their attack into Kursk is a masterstroke, but what they need to do now is build on that and maintain that initiative as we come into the autumn, when things ease off slightly on the front line.
No, sure, I get it. Philip, great to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed. Philip Ingram, former senior military intelligence officer, of course.